The great crystal dome of Nexus Prime had been rebuilt since the war. The new chamber was larger than before, with seats for over 2,000 representatives. Species that had been enslaved for centuries now sat as equals beside their former masters. At the center of it all, a simple podium waited for the first president of the Galactic Federation. Si-Jin Moon walked slowly to that podium, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Behind her sat the Constitutional Convention that had worked for 2 years to create something the galaxy had never seen before, a truly democratic government. "Fellow beings," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Today we begin a new chapter in galactic history. For too long might has made right among the stars. Today we choose a different path." In the front row, former Emperor Thanemore sat in simple gray clothes. His trial had lasted 6 months and revealed the full scope of Imperial crimes. But instead of execution, the court had sentenced him to life in service, helping to rebuild the worlds his empire had destroyed. "I accept the honor and burden of serving as your first president," Se-Jin continued. "But let me be clear, Earth seeks no dominion over other species. We offer only partnership and friendship." The applause that followed came from beings who had never thought they would live to see this day. In the Earth delegation, Woo Jin Kim smiled with satisfaction. The Constitution he had helped write guaranteed rights that most species had never imagined possible. Outside the chamber, construction crews worked to expand the facility again. More species were joining the Federation every month as word spread of the new government's fairness and protection. Admiral Ye-Yun Shin stood on the bridge of the Federation starship Unity, watching the construction through the main view screen. Her ship was itself a symbol of the new era, built using technology from dozens of species, crewed by beings from 30 different worlds. "Captain," her human navigation officer reported, "we have clearance for departure. Our destination is the Andromeda Nebula." "Very good," Ye-Yun replied. "Take us out of orbit." Unity was the first ship of the new Galactic Exploration Service. Instead of conquest fleets, the Federation was sending out ships of discovery. The galaxy was vast, and there were still countless mysteries to explore. On the bridge, beings worked side by side who would have been enemies just a few years before. Lieutenant Kaxivar, a former hegemony pilot, operated the sensors alongside Ensign Sarah Kim, a human engineer. Their different species and backgrounds meant nothing now. They were all Federation officers. "Admiral," the science officer called out, "we are detecting unusual energy readings from the nebula. It could be evidence of intelligent life." Ye-Yun felt a familiar excitement. First contact with new species was always the most challenging and rewarding part of exploration. "Reduce speed and prepare the translation computers," she ordered. "If there is intelligent life in there, we want to make a good first impression." Back on Earth, the changes were just as dramatic as in space. The hidden military bases were being converted to civilian use. Scientists from across the galaxy came to study in Earth's universities. Children played in parks where weapons had once been stored. Dr. Minho Park stood in his laboratory, working alongside colleagues from 6 different species. Together, they were developing new medical technologies that could help beings throughout the galaxy. The same human ingenuity that had created invisible warships was now being used to cure diseases. "Doctor," his ethereal assistant said excitedly, "the new treatment is showing remarkable results. We could eliminate the plague that has affected the Rigel colonies for decades." Minho smiled. This was the future Earth had really been fighting for. Not military dominance, but the chance to help others. The transformation was not without challenges. On some worlds, former Imperial loyalists resisted Federation authority. Pirates and raiders took advantage of the transition period to attack shipping. Old prejudices between species sometimes flared into violence, but for every problem, the Federation found solutions. Instead of crushing resistance with military force, they sent diplomats and aid workers. Instead of hunting pirates with warships, they offered former criminals new lives in the expanding colonies. Commander Jin Woo Nam led one such mission to the former hegemony world of Kronos. The industrial planet had been a center of weapons production for the Empire. Now it was being converted to manufacture medical equipment and civilian spacecraft. "Sir," his aide reported, "the local government is requesting additional food shipments. The transition away from military production has created temporary shortages." "Approved." Jinwoo replied immediately, and send additional engineers to help retrain their workers. This was how the Federation operated, not through force but through assistance. It was more expensive than conquest, but it created lasting loyalty instead of bitter resistance. On the prison world of Tartarus, former Imperial war criminals worked to restore ecosystems they had destroyed. It was hard labor, but it was also redemption. Many former enemies of the Federation had become its strongest supporters after experiencing Federation justice firsthand. Governor Telvak of Sigma Draconis, one of the first worlds to join Earth's alliance, now served as the Federation's Minister of Colonial Affairs. His species had gone from oppressed slaves to galactic leaders in just a few years. Madam President, he reported to Sejin Moon during their weekly meeting, 12 more worlds have applied for Federation membership. 3 are former hegemony colonies. The others are independent systems that want our protection. What is their current status? Sejin asked. All meet our requirements for democratic government and individual rights. I recommend immediate acceptance, Sejin nodded. The Federation's expansion was voluntary and based on shared values rather than military conquest. It was slower than the old Imperial method, but it was also more stable. Not every species chose to join. The Kaltharan Republic, humbled by their defeat but not destroyed, had established peaceful relations with the Federation while maintaining their independence. They had learned to respect Earth's strength and had abandoned their expansionist policies. The Vegan Confederation had chosen a middle path, joining some Federation programs while keeping their own government. The new galaxy had room for different approaches to organization and cooperation, but the greatest success was visible in the mixed crews serving on Federation ships. Humans worked alongside former enemies, learning from each other and building friendships that would have been impossible under the old system. Captain Hyejin Lim, now an admiral in the Federation Navy, commanded a fleet that included ships from 20 different species. Her flagship Harmony had been rebuilt using the best technology the galaxy could offer. Admiral, her Kaltharan tactical officer reported, we are receiving a distress signal from the edge of our patrol sector. An unknown ship is requesting assistance. Set course immediately, Hyejin ordered. Maximum speed. This was the new mission of the Federation military. Not conquest or oppression, but protection and rescue. Their ships carried medical supplies and food alongside their weapons. Their first response to any situation was to offer help. When they reached the distress signal, they found a small exploration vessel from a species that had never been contacted before. The aliens were tall and thin with iridescent skin, and their ship had suffered critical damage from an asteroid collision. This is Admiral Hyejin Lim of the Galactic Federation, she transmitted. We are here to help. Do you require medical assistance? The response came in a completely unknown language, but the Federation's translation computers were the best in the galaxy. Within minutes, they had established basic communication. We grateful for assistance, came the translated reply. Our people? Not know. Others exist. It was first contact with a completely new species, and it was proceeding exactly as the Federation hoped. Instead of conquest or exploitation, they were offering friendship and aid. We extend peaceful greetings to your people, Hyejin replied. The Federation would be honored to establish formal relations with your species. As rescue operations began, Hyejin reflected on how much had changed. A few years ago, first contact would have meant either submission to the Empire or a violent struggle for independence. Now it meant the possibility of new friends and partners. On Nexus Prime, President Sejin Moon received regular reports about such contacts. Each new species that joined the Federation made the galaxy a little more peaceful and prosperous. Madam President, her secretary announced, the Exploration Council is ready for their briefing. Sejin walked into the briefing room where Admiral Ye-Yun Shin was presenting her latest discoveries. The main display showed a map of the galaxy, with Federation territory marked in blue. The blue area was growing steadily, not through conquest but through voluntary association. Madam President, Ye-Yun reported, we have established peaceful contact with 17 new species this quarter. 14 have expressed interest in Federation membership. 3 prefer to remain independent but want trade agreements. Any hostile contacts? Sejin asked. None, ma'am. It appears that most species prefer cooperation to conflict when given the choice. Sejin smiled. That had always been Earth's belief, that cooperation was Emperor Thanomor stood before the massive view screen in his throne room, watching the final ships of his great fleet take formation. 10,000 vessels stretched across space, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Each ship bore the crimson and black colors of the hegemony empire. "Your Majesty," General Mordak reported, "the fleet is ready. We have concentrated forces from across the empire. Even our oldest enemies dare not move against us while these ships are away." The Emperor's metallic features showed no emotion, but his glowing red eyes burned with determination. For 800 years, the hegemony had ruled through strength. No primitive species would be allowed to challenge that order. "Begin the assault," he commanded. "Destroy Earth and every human ship you find. Let the galaxy know the price of defying the Empire." 6 months had passed since the Kulthuran defeat. During that time, the galaxy had watched nervously as both sides prepared for war. Some species hoped the hegemony would crush the upstart humans and restore the old order. Others secretly prayed that Earth would somehow survive. Admiral Sung Ho Bei stood on the bridge of the new flagship Unconquerable, watching long-range sensors track the approaching Imperial fleet. Around him, the crew worked with calm efficiency despite the overwhelming odds they faced. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "hegemony forces are 6 hours from the outer system. We count 9,800 confirmed vessels." "Understood," Sung Ho replied. "Signal all commands. Implement Operation Thunderstorm." Throughout the solar system, hidden bases and cloaked ships received the order. But this time, Earth was not fighting alone. Captain Nari Cho monitored communications from her command center buried deep beneath Earth's surface. Her screen showed incoming transmissions from across the galaxy. "Sir," her aide reported, "we are receiving confirmation from the Ethereal Collective. Their fleet is in position and ready. What about our other allies?" "The Centauri Federation has committed 200 ships. The liberated worlds from the former hegemony sectors are sending everything they have. Perhaps 500 vessels total." Nari nodded grimly. Even with their allies, the combined force was less than 1/6 the size of the Imperial fleet. But numbers were not everything. "Sir," another aide called out, "we are receiving a priority transmission from inside the hegemony fleet itself." On the main screen, a figure appeared wearing an Imperial uniform. The being had the same metallic features as Emperor Thanomor, but his expression showed doubt instead of confidence. "This is Admiral Rexdan of the Imperial Navy," the figure said quietly. "My ship is the dreadnought Iron Fist, currently serving with the attack fleet. I must inform you that not all Imperial forces support this war." Nari leaned forward with interest. For months, human intelligence had been working to create divisions within the Empire itself. It appeared their efforts were succeeding. "Admiral," she replied, "Earth appreciates any assistance you can provide." "I cannot openly rebel against the Emperor," Rexdan said, "but I can ensure that certain tactical information reaches you. There are others like me in the fleet. We believe this war serves no purpose except the Emperor's pride." The transmission ended, but it had given Nari hope. The Empire's greatest weakness had always been the resentment of its conquered species. Now that resentment was spreading even to the Imperial military itself. When the hegemony fleet reached the outer edge of the solar system, they found what appeared to be a modest defense force. 50 Earth dreadnoughts faced them in formation, supported by the colorful ships of their alien allies. General Mordak studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Even adding the allied vessels, the defenders were outnumbered 10-1. "Open a channel to all enemy ships," he ordered. The communication went out on all frequencies. Admiral Sung Ho received it aboard Unconquerable and chose to respond personally. "Human," Mordak's voice carried across space. "I am General Mordak of the Hegemony Empire. You are ordered to surrender immediately. Your species will be relocated to labor worlds where you can serve the Empire productively." "General," Sung Ho replied calmly, "I am Admiral Sung Ho Bei of Earth Defense Command. Earth rejects your demands. We will defend our world and our allies. You face 10,000 ships, human. Your resistance is meaningless." "Perhaps," Sung Ho said, "but we choose to resist anyway." The first phase of the battle began exactly as General Mordak expected. The Imperial fleet advanced in a massive wall of ships, weapons charging for a devastating first strike. The defenders seemed to be retreating toward Earth's inner system. "Sir," reported Mordak's tactical officer, "the enemy is falling back." "Should we pursue?" Yes, Mordak replied. Drive them back to their homeworld. Let them watch their planet burn. But as the Imperial fleet advanced, strange things began to happen. Ships throughout the formation reported navigation problems. Some vessels found their communications jammed. Others detected false sensor readings. On the bridge of Iron Fist, Admiral Rexdan watched his instruments carefully. At the right moment, he gave quiet orders to his most trusted officers. Sir, his weapons officer reported, we are experiencing targeting difficulties. Our computers seem to be malfunctioning. How unfortunate, Rexdan replied with a straight face. Continue trying to correct the problems. Similar malfunctions were occurring throughout the Imperial fleet. Computer viruses that human hackers had planted months before were finally activating. Ships that should have been fighting found themselves unable to target the enemy. Meanwhile, the real battle was beginning. From hidden positions throughout the asteroid belt, Earth's secret weapons revealed themselves. Massive orbital fortresses that had been disguised as rocks opened fire with weapons that had been designed specifically to fight the hegemony. Sir, Mordak's tactical officer called out in alarm. We are under attack from multiple directions. Unknown contacts are emerging from the asteroid field. How many? Mordak demanded. At least 200 installations, sir. They appear to be heavily armed. The general stared at his displays in shock. Once again, the humans had hidden their true strength. But this time he had brought enough ships to overwhelm any defense. All ships attack Formation 7, he ordered. Concentrate fire on those weapon platforms. But as the Imperial ships moved to attack the obvious targets, the real trap was sprung. From behind Jupiter's moons, a massive fleet of ships began to appear. Not just human vessels, but ships from dozens of species that had suffered under Imperial rule. Commander Jun Seok Park led the special assault force that had been waiting for this moment. His troops wore the same black armor that had become famous throughout the galaxy, and their mission was simple: capture the Emperor's flagship. All units, he broadcast to his commandos, Operation Decapitation is a go. Target the ship's supreme authority. The Emperor must be taken alive. The battle that followed would be studied by military academies for generations. Earth's forces used their superior mobility and advanced weapons to slice through Imperial formations. Their alien allies fought with desperate courage, knowing this was their only chance for freedom. But the most decisive factor was the rebellion within the Imperial fleet itself. As the battle raged, more and more Imperial ships found their weapons malfunctioning at crucial moments. Some captains openly switched sides, turning their guns on their former allies. General Mordak realized the truth too late. We have been betrayed, he screamed into his communicator. Ships are defecting. Our own people are firing on us. The battle's turning point came when Jun Seok Park's commandos successfully boarded the Emperor's flagship. The elite Imperial Guard fought bravely, but they had never faced opponents like the human special forces. Jun Seok himself confronted Emperor Thanomor in the throne room of supreme authority. The ancient ruler stood defiantly despite being clearly defeated. Human, the Emperor said with dignity, you have won this battle, but the Empire will never surrender. There will be others who will continue to fight. Your Majesty, Jun Seok replied respectfully, the Empire as you knew it is finished. But that does not mean your people cannot find a place in the new galaxy we are building. When news of the Emperor's capture spread through the Imperial fleet, resistance collapsed. Ship after ship surrendered or joined the Allied forces. The great fleet that had been assembled to destroy Earth instead became the foundation of a new galactic order. Admiral Sung Ho stood on his bridge, watching the last Imperial ships surrender. Around him, his crew cheered as victory became certain, but the Admiral felt no joy, only relief that the killing was over. Sir, his communications officer reported, we are receiving surrender requests from over 3,000 Imperial vessels. What are your orders? Accept all surrenders, Sung Ho replied. Begin rescue operations for damaged ships. All prisoners will be treated according to the laws of war. Sir, what about the Emperor? Sung Ho considered the question carefully. Emperor Thanomor had ruled through fear and oppression for 8 centuries. Many species would demand his execution, but Earth had promised to build a better galaxy. The Emperor will be tried for his crimes, he decided, but the trial will be fair and open. We will show the galaxy that justice does not require vengeance. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. In cantinas on distant worlds, traders whispered about the impossible battle. On military bases, generals studied the reports with growing alarm. In government halls, politicians called emergency meetings. Earth had defeated the Caltharan Republic. On the waterworld of Aquatica, Admiral Theron of the Ethereal Collective read the battle reports for the third time. His blue translucent features showed deep concentration as he watched the recordings that survivors had managed to transmit. "Fascinating," he said to his aide. "The humans hid their true capabilities for decades. Such patience, such planning." "Sir," his aide asked, "does this change our relationship with Earth?" Theron considered the question carefully. The Ethereal Collective had always been peaceful, preferring trade and diplomacy to warfare. But they understood the importance of accurate intelligence. "Send a message to Earth," he decided. "Request a formal meeting with their representatives. We may have much to learn from each other." On the industrial world of Forge Prime, the reaction was very different. General Mordak of the Hegemony Empire slammed his metal fist on the table, denting the surface. "Impossible," he roared at the assembled intelligence officers. "Humans are primitives. They barely understand basic space travel." "Sir," one officer said nervously, "the evidence is clear. Our spies confirm that human ships use technology we do not recognize. Their weapons appear to be based on principles unknown to galactic science." Mordak's red eyes glowed with fury. "Then our spies are incompetent. How do you hide 30 massive warships? How do you build asteroid bases without anyone noticing?" "Sir, it appears the humans have been very careful about what they allowed us to observe. For 20 years we saw only what they wanted us to see." The general stood up slowly, his 7-foot frame casting a shadow across the room. The Hegemony Empire controlled 1/3 of the galaxy through military might. The idea that a primitive species could threaten that control was unthinkable. "Prepare a full intelligence review," he ordered. "I want to know everything about human capabilities. Everything." Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Emergency sessions had been called every day since news of the Caltharan defeat arrived. The chamber that had once been filled with confident voices now buzzed with worried whispers. Mi-Young Kang stood at the podium where her predecessor Daiho Kim had been laughed at just months before. The chamber was silent now. No one was laughing. "Honored representatives," she began, her voice clear and steady. "Earth comes before this council not as a supplicant, but as an equal. We seek friendship and cooperation with all species." The council speaker, the same four-armed being who had dismissed Earth's objections, leaned forward in his chair. "Ambassador Kang, the council requires clarification on several matters. How long has Earth possessed advanced military technology?" "Earth has always possessed the technology necessary to defend itself," Mi-Young replied diplomatically. "We simply chose not to advertise our capabilities." "But your ships," protested the Vegan representative, a tall being with green skin. "Where did they come from?" "Our intelligence services detected no construction of such vessels." Mi-Young smiled slightly. "Perhaps your intelligence services were looking in the wrong places. In the hidden chambers beneath Earth's surface, that intelligence network was very busy." Dong Hyun-Yu sat at the center of a vast communications web that now reached across dozens of worlds. For 20 years, humans had quietly built relationships with traders, engineers, and scientists throughout the galaxy. "Sir," reported one of his analysts, "we are receiving intelligence from 17 different sources about hegemony military movements. They appear to be mobilizing their fleets." Dong-hyun nodded grimly. He had expected this reaction. The hegemony ruled through fear and superior technology. Earth's victory threatened both pillars of their power. "What about our other contacts?" he asked. "The Ethereal Collective has formally requested diplomatic talks. The Centauri Federation wants to discuss trade agreements. Even some hegemony worlds are sending private messages expressing interest in human technology." "And the Caltharans themselves." The analyst consulted his reports. "Caltharan High Command has issued a statement calling the battle an unfortunate misunderstanding. They are requesting formal negotiations to establish peaceful relations." Dong-hyun almost smiled. A few months ago, the Caltharans had planned to relocate humanity to labor camps. Now they wanted to negotiate. On the bridge of the diplomatic vessel, Harmony, Captain Hyejin Lim received orders to visit several systems that had been under hegemony control. These worlds had sent secret messages asking for Earth's protection against their imperial masters. "Captain," her navigation officer reported, "we have clearance to enter the Sigma Draconis system." The local government is requesting a private meeting. Very well, Heejin replied. Set course immediately. The situation in Sigma Draconis was typical of what was happening across the galaxy. For centuries, the local population had paid crushing taxes to the hegemony empire. Their resources were shipped away while their people lived in poverty. But now they had seen that the empire could be resisted. Governor Telvak of Sigma Draconis met Captain Hyjin in secret, deep underground in an abandoned mining facility. The governor was a small, furry creature whose species had been conquered by the hegemony 200 years before. Captain, Telvak whispered, my people want to know if the stories are true. Did Earth really defeat a fleet of 200 ships? The stories are true, Heejin confirmed. Earth will defend itself against any aggressor. And what about other worlds? Would Earth defend species that cannot defend themselves? It was the question Heejin had been expecting. In her diplomatic pouch, she carried authorization from Earth's government to make certain commitments. Earth believes in the right of all species to determine their own destiny, she said carefully. We are prepared to assist those who seek freedom. Telvak's eyes lit up with hope. Then you will help us throw off hegemony rule? If you formally request Earth's protection, we will provide it, Heejin confirmed. Similar conversations were taking place across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, local leaders were beginning to believe that resistance was possible. The hegemony's grip on power was loosening with each passing day, but the Empire was not surrendering without a fight. In the military shipyards above Forge Prime, construction worked around the clock. General Mordak had convinced Emperor Thanemore that Earth represented an existential threat to imperial power. 10,000 ships, the Emperor had declared. Assemble 10,000 ships and destroy this human infestation before it spreads. The order went out to every corner of the Empire. Fleets that had been stationed on peaceful borders were recalled. Reserve ships were activated. Construction of new vessels was accelerated. Back on Earth, these preparations did not go unnoticed. In the deep space monitoring stations hidden throughout the solar system, human operators tracked the massive military buildup. Sir, reported Commander Eugene Park to Admiral Taewook Lee, hegemony forces are massing at 17 different staging areas. Conservative estimate is 8,000 ships, possibly more. Taewook studied the tactical displays thoughtfully. The hegemony had learned from Keltharan mistakes. They were bringing overwhelming force and preparing carefully. What is the status of our own preparations? He asked. The shipyards behind Saturn are working at full capacity. We will have 50 operational dreadnoughts within 3 months. The new weapon systems are testing ahead of schedule. And our allies. The Ethereal Collective has agreed to share their shield technology. Several former hegemony worlds have pledged support. Most importantly, we are receiving intelligence from sources inside the Empire itself. Taewook nodded. Earth was no longer fighting alone. The galaxy was choosing sides, and not everyone was choosing the Empire. On Nexus Prime, Mi Young Kang delivered a speech that would be remembered for generations. Standing before the full Galactic Council, she spoke words that changed everything. For too long, this galaxy has been ruled by fear, she said. Fear of those with bigger fleets, stronger weapons, more advanced technology? Earth proposes a different way forward. We propose a galaxy ruled by justice, where strength is measured not by the ability to conquer, but by the willingness to protect. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species cheered, others protested, but no one could ignore her words. Earth extends its hand in friendship to all who would take it, Myung continued. We offer our protection to those who need it and our partnership to those who seek it. The age of empire is ending. The age of cooperation begins now. As news of her speech spread across the galaxy, the lines were drawn. On one side stood the old order. Empires built on conquest and maintained by fear. On the other side stood something new. A coalition based on mutual respect and shared defense. The galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Vexthar stood on the bridge of his flagship Dominator. Through the massive view screen, he could see Earth growing larger as his fleet approached. The small blue world looked peaceful and defenseless, just as intelligence reports had promised. Sir, reported his tactical officer, we are detecting the human fleet. 12 ships exactly as expected. They appear to be moving away from Earth toward their moon. Vexthar's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Running already? I had hoped for at least a token resistance. Behind Dominator, 199 other Keltharan ships moved in perfect formation. Each vessel was painted in the traditional war colors, deep red with golden symbols showing their battle honors. The smallest ship in the fleet was larger than anything humans had ever built, or so the Caltharans believed. "Admiral," called the communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through," Vexthar ordered. The view screen flickered, showing the bridge of a human ship. A middle-aged man in a simple blue uniform looked directly at Vexthar. The human's face was calm, showing no fear. "I am Admiral Taewok Lee of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. "You are entering human space without permission. Please state your intentions." Vexthar laughed, a harsh buzzing sound. "Human, I am Admiral Vexthar of the Caltharan Republic. By order of the Galactic Council, this system now belongs to us. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed." "I see," Taewok said quietly. "In that case, I must inform you that Earth rejects Caltharan authority. We will defend our world." "With 12 ships?" Vexthar asked. "Against 200? Human, your bravery borders on insanity." "Perhaps," Taewok replied, "but it is our choice to make." The transmission ended. Vexthar turned to his weapons officer. "Target the human fleet. Prepare to fire." "Sir," the tactical officer interrupted, "the human ships are not engaging. They continue to retreat toward their moon." "Cowards after all," Vexthar muttered. "Follow them. We will destroy them against their own moon for all to see." The Caltharan fleet pursued the fleeing human ships. As they passed Earth's orbit, Vexthar noticed several large asteroids floating nearby. His scanner showed they were made of normal rock and metal, nothing threatening. "Sir," the tactical officer said suddenly, "I am reading massive energy signatures from those asteroids." Before Vexthar could respond, the asteroids began to change. Metal panels slid open, revealing weapon ports and sensor arrays. In seconds, what had looked like dead rocks became massive battle stations. "Impossible," Vexthar whispered. "Admiral," his communications officer shouted. "Multiple contacts appearing throughout the system. Large ships decloaking behind the gas giant." The main view screen split into multiple images. From behind Jupiter, enormous ships emerged from invisibility. These vessels were black as space itself, their hulls covered in armor that seemed to drink light. Each ship was nearly twice the length of Dominator. "How many?" Vexthar demanded. 30 ships, sir." "No, wait, more contacts appearing. Smaller vessels, hundreds of them." Captain Hyun-Woo Choi stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. After 20 years of hiding, their ship was finally ready to fight. "All ships report ready, sir," his first officer announced. "Very good," Hyun-Woo said calmly. "Signal the fleet. Commence Operation Thunderbolt." Throughout the solar system, human ships that had been invisible suddenly appeared. Stealth fighters emerged from asteroid fields. Hidden weapon platforms powered up on moons that the Caltharans had ignored. In minutes, the tactical situation had completely reversed. On Dominator, chaos ruled the bridge. "Sir, we are being targeted by over 300 human vessels," the tactical officer reported. "Their weapon signatures are unlike anything in our database." Vexthar stared at the tactical display in shock. Red dots representing human ships surrounded his fleet from every direction. How had they missed so many vessels? Where had these massive warships come from? "Open a channel," he ordered. "All frequencies." This time, a different human appeared on screen. The man wore a black uniform with silver markings. His expression was neither angry nor friendly, simply professional. "I am Captain Hyun-Woo Choi of the Earthship Indomitable," the human said. "Admiral Vexthar, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender now and your crews will be treated with honor." "Outgunned?" Vexthar's voice rose to a shriek. "By primitive humans? You still fight with chemical explosives and metal bullets." Hyun-Woo's expression did not change. "Admiral, our intelligence suggests you have not updated your information on human capabilities recently. Perhaps a demonstration would be helpful." Without another word, the transmission ended. On the tactical display, one of the human dreadnoughts turned toward a Caltharan cruiser at the edge of the formation. "Sir," the weapons officer called out, "the human ship is charging some kind of weapon."
"Energy readings are off the scale."
A beam of pure energy lanced out from Indomitable. It struck the Caltharan cruiser amidships, cutting completely through the armored hull. The ship broke apart in a brilliant explosion that could be seen across the solar system. "One shot," Vexthar whispered. "They destroyed a heavy cruiser with one shot." "Admiral," his communications officer said urgently, Captain Krivas is requesting immediate evacuation. His ship is crippled. How? We have not been hit. Sir, the human fighters, they are moving too fast for our targeting systems. They have some kind of new propulsion technology. On the view screen, Vexthar watched human fighters dance between his ships. The small craft moved like nothing he had ever seen, changing direction instantly without any apparent acceleration time. His own fighters, considered the fastest in the galaxy, looked like floating targets by comparison. Pilot Jamin Han smiled inside his fighter's cockpit as he rolled past a Kaltharan destroyer. His ship's gravity drive let him make turns that would crush any normal pilot, but humans had learned to handle forces that would kill most aliens. Phoenix leader to all units, he spoke into his radio. Target their weapon systems only. We want prisoners, not corpses. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it ended, half the Kaltharan fleet was disabled and the other half had surrendered. Not a single human ship had been damaged. Vexthar sat in his command chair, mandibles clicking in stunned disbelief. Around him, his bridge crew stared at their instruments in confusion. None of their sensors had detected the human ships until they revealed themselves. None of their weapons had been able to target the human fighters effectively. Sir, his communications officer said quietly, the humans are transmitting again. Admiral Taewok Lee appeared on screen, broadcasting from his flagship. The same calm expression showed no triumph, no anger. Admiral Vexthar, Taewok said formally, your fleet is defeated. However, Earth does not wish to continue this conflict. Your damaged ships will be repaired and your crews will be returned safely to Kaltharan space. Why? Vexthar asked. Why spare us? Because Earth seeks peace with all species, Taewok replied. We fought only to defend our world. Please carry this message back to your government. Earth extends friendship to all who come in peace. And to those who do not? Vexthar asked. Taewok's expression remained unchanged. Today you have seen what happens to those who threaten Earth. We hope this demonstration will be sufficient. The transmission ended, leaving Vexthar alone with his thoughts. Around him, human ships began the delicate work of rescuing Kaltharan survivors and repairing damaged vessels. They worked with the same calm efficiency they had shown in battle. 3 days later, the surviving Kaltharan ships limped away from Earth. As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, Vexthar sent a coded message to Kaltharan High Command. It contained detailed sensor readings of the human weapons, recordings of the battle, and his personal assessment. The message was very short. Recommend immediate revision of threat assessment regarding human military capabilities. Earth is not defenseless. Repeat, Earth is not defenseless. Throughout the galaxy, intelligence services would soon be scrambling to understand how they had so completely misunderstood human strength. The small primitive world on the galactic rim had just proven it could destroy any fleet sent against it. Earth was no longer harmless in anyone's calculations. The great crystal dome of Nexus Prime sparkled under 3 different suns. Inside, creatures from across the galaxy filled the massive council chamber. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others slithered or floated. A few were so strange that humans had no words for their shapes. Daeho Kim sat in the smallest chair at the very back of the room. His simple gray suit looked plain next to the glowing robes and metal armor worn by other representatives. He was the only human in a room of 847 different species. Earth had only been part of the Galactic Council for 5 years, and most aliens still forgot humans existed. Next item, announced the council speaker, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin. Territory assignments for undefended worlds. Daeho leaned forward. This was why he had traveled 2 months to get here. Earth needed to know what the council planned for human space. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a map of the galaxy with colored dots marking different territories. Earth appeared as a tiny blue dot on the outer edge. The Kaltharan Republic requests expansion rights to Sector 7G, said a voice that sounded like grinding metal. The speaker was Ambassador Vexkorth, whose insect-like body stood 8 feet tall. His compound eyes glittered as he pointed at the hologram. This includes the primitive world called Earth and its surrounding systems. Whispers filled the chamber. Most were sounds of agreement. A few aliens laughed. Daeho stood up quickly. I object to this proposal. The chamber fell silent. Then the laughter grew louder. The human speaks, said Vexkorth with amusement. Tell us, little mammal, what military force protects your world? How many ships guard your system? Earth has 12 ships, Deho said clearly. His voice carried across the chamber without shaking. The laughter became roars. Vexkorth's mandibles clicked together in what humans had learned was Kaltharan amusement. 12 ships, Vexkorth repeated. The Kaltharan Republic has 50,000 vessels. The Hegemony Empire has twice that number. Your entire species could fit inside one of our cargo holds. Earth may be small, Deho said, but we are not undefended. We have rights under council law. The council speaker raised one of his 4 hands. The law protects worlds that can defend themselves. Earth barely achieved faster than light travel 20 years ago. Your technology is centuries behind standard galactic levels. Furthermore, added another alien voice, your species shows no evidence of advanced military thinking. Human conflicts are crude and wasteful. You fight with chemical explosives and metal projectiles. More laughter echoed through the chamber. Deho felt his face grow hot, but he kept his expression calm. Behind him, his advisor So-Min Park touched his arm gently. She had warned him this would happen. The Council recognizes Earth's unique approach to warfare, the speaker continued. However, sentiment cannot override practical concerns. The Kaltharan Republic has legitimate expansion needs. What expansion needs? Deho asked. The Kaltharans already control 47 star systems. How many worlds does one species require? Vexkorth's eyes fixed on Deho. As many as we can take and hold, human. That is how the galaxy works. The strong expand, the weak submit or disappear. Earth will not submit, Deho said quietly. The chamber erupted in different sounds. Some aliens hissed, others clicked or buzzed. A few made noises humans could not identify, but they all meant the same thing: amusement at human foolishness. You would fight the Kaltharan Republic? Vexkorth asked. His voice carried no threat, only curiosity. Your 12 ships against our fleets? Your primitive weapons against our plasma cannons? If necessary, Deho replied. The council speaker consulted a glowing tablet. According to our records, Earth's largest warship displaces 30,000 tons. Kaltharan battleships are 10 times that size. Human, your bravery is noted, but this council cannot authorize suicide. We are not asking for authorization, Deho said. We are stating our position. Earth belongs to humanity. Several aliens began talking at once. The noise grew until the speaker called for order. Very well, the speaker announced. Let the record show that Earth objects to Kaltharan expansion into human space. However, the Council finds these objections without merit. The Kaltharan Republic is granted rights to all undefended territories in Sector 7G, including the Sol system. Deho remained standing as the vote was called. The result was overwhelming. 798 votes in favor, 1 against. Even species that seemed friendly to humans had voted with the majority. The human delegation may return to Earth to prepare their people, Vexkorth said with obvious satisfaction. Kaltharan forces will arrive in 3 months to accept your surrender. We are not unreasonable. Humans who cooperate will be relocated to suitable worlds under Kaltharan protection. And those who do not cooperate? Deho asked. The Kaltharan's mandibles clicked again. The galaxy has no place for species that cannot adapt. After the session ended, Deho and So-Min walked slowly back to their small ship. Other aliens passed them in the corridors, paying no attention to the 2 humans. That went about as expected, So-Min said quietly. Better, actually, Deho replied. 3 months gives us enough time. Time for what? The Council is right about one thing. We cannot fight a conventional war against the Kaltharans. Deho smiled for the first time since arriving at Nexus Prime. Who said anything about conventional war? Back on their ship, Deho sent a coded message to Earth. It was very short. They took the bait. Begin Phase 2. On Earth, Admiral Taewook Lee received the message while standing on the bridge of the destroyer Defiant. Around him, the crew worked quietly at their stations. Through the main view screen, he could see 11 other ships. The entire visible human fleet, according to Galactic Intelligence Services. Sir, said his communications officer. Admiral Sung-Ho reports the hidden fleets are ready. All asteroid bases are operational. The stealth platforms are in position. Taewook nodded. For 20 years, while the galaxy watched, humans had built exactly what everyone expected. A small, primitive fleet using outdated technology. But the galaxy had not been watching carefully enough. Behind Jupiter's moons, 30 massive ships waited in absolute silence. Their hulls were black as space itself, invisible to most sensors. These ships were longer than Caltheran battleships and packed with weapons the galaxy had never seen. In hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt, automated defense systems powered up for the first time in years. Each base contained enough firepower to destroy 100 enemy ships. The galaxy thought humans were harmless. In 3 months they would learn how wrong they were. Taewok looked at his crew, young men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They showed no fear, only determination. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "The Caltherans are coming. Let them come."